Okay, so I took a break. I came back. What I remembered from so what I learned from uh, the simple things, the simple syntax of programming, when in processing or Java or P5 or da 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 JavaScript. That's the one. JavaScript. That when you use the word void, it is something you use in front of a function, and the function in of itself, you use it in front of a, what was the word specifically? Keyword to indicate a function, so literally just a function. Gotcha. So, when we were using, so the word void, you put that in front of a function, and the function in of itself, the word that is being used, which again, intellectually I knew, but for some reason when applying in a applying it, or even in a social setting, I somehow didn't know that. It's probably because I probably didn't know that. I thought I knew it. I thought I knew a lot of stuff in programming. Apparently, I'm an idiot. A freaking idiot. Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, you use void in front of a function because the word in of itself holds no weight. By using void, I don't know why you use it, but you use it in front of a function. The function word is, when called, will give the commands, all the commands in between these brackets. Okay. I'm just repeating myself, and it's probably why I'm like, well, what am I talking about anymore? One more rephrase about what it is. The keyword void is a keyword used to indicate that a function returns no value. Each function must either return a value of a specific data type, or use the keyword void to specify it returns nothing. Okay, so each function must return either a value or it returns nothing. So it does not return any value. It is simply commanding, it is simply acting out all the statements within it. So it does not give a value. It acts on certain, it executes certain commands. That's it. So if there was walk steps, it doesn't, walk forward does not, if there was a function called void walk forward with brackets and then commands in between, walk forward does not bring any value. It holds no particular value other than listing certain commands to execute. It doesn't bring a value data set. It only acts out certain commands. So walk forward, that's it. There's no dictionary, there's no library, there's no integer, there's no float, there's value, there's nothing. It only executes commands. Gotcha. Specifically when void is in the picture right in front of the, yeah, actually you would just use it with a function. I don't know if a function would actually return, I don't know if a function would return a value, but that's what we'll go with as of right now. So
I no longer want any code anywhere else. Any stray code just somewhere
by the way,
outside
this
these
is
two
2x
blocks
speed, so that's why he's going so quickly.
Of course, there's going to be more functions and less more stuff later, but for now we can sort of think of it in a simple way. Code only happens either at the beginning or over and over again in a loop. So looking at this, we can understand now, aha, setup, this is the setup block of code, this is the draw block of code. But there's other syntax here that we don't understand. Like, this seems so sad. Like, why do we have this word void here? I mean, is my programming like void of meaning and happiness? And why is that word there?
Yeah.
Are these parentheses there?
I'm glad he's addressing that.
What does all this mean? What does any of this mean? The truth of the matter is, this will, what the word void means will come later, why we have these parentheses here will come later, but one thing we can sort of see about this is what I mentioned is what we're actually doing is not, this is a block of code and that's contained between curly brackets, but what we're actually doing is defining our own function. We're defining the setup function,
yes.
We're defining the draw function. Those functions are executed by processing automatically setup at the beginning, draw over and over again, and we've now defined what code should be inside those functions. This will become more clear in video, once I figure out what number that is, when I do a video that's all about writing function, more about the sort of syntax of defining functions, but for now, we just need to kind of memorize the syntax. And so let's go over to our processing sketch. Walk over here, and let's add this in. So I'm going to say void setup, curly bracket, processing sketch. Walk over here, and let's add this in. So I'm going to add in, I'm going to say void setup, curly bracket,
oh, so, okay, so what I just did.
Curly bracket, void draw, curly bracket, and I'm going to obnoxiously remove my comments here just for a second. Oh, I did something. Ah! Help, everybody stop! So I did something that's like a force of like unbelievable habit and nature.
That's a really good way of doing it. I've seen that multiple ways, but we'll go ahead and do that.
I hit Command T, which I didn't want to do because I wanted to at least demonstrate before I did that the way my code looked was like this. So one convention, again, remember, line breaks have no meaning in the way the code executes. The curly brackets define the beginning and end of a block, the semicolon defines the end of a line, but human beings, especially if you're a human being like me, like to keep things incredibly orderly and very nice and neat and to feel comfortable and relaxed in one's life. And the convention, to be able to make code a little bit more readable, is when you have a block of code, you always indent the code inside that block. So you can see here that in draw, you can see all those lines of code are slightly indented, but instead of it's not. I could do that manually myself, space. But one thing that processing has is under edit, it has a nice little option here called auto format, and auto format will auto indent, clean up all of your blocks of code for you. So probably that was a little bit of an unnecessary digression, but it's something that is auto formatted and indentation and code commenting and something that's very meaningful and important to me in my life. And
wait, isn't that a fractal?
But it's something that is auto format will auto indent.
Yeah, that is a fractal. That's pretty cool. The symbols that are next to Z, X.
Clean up all of your blocks of code
I'm
for you.
assuming that's their Max Alt command or Windows command or something.
That was a little bit of an unnecessary digression, but it's something that is auto-formatted in indentation and code commenting. If your code looks like this, you should not have to sit down in the corner and like read deeply for like 15 minutes. You'll be fine. But anyway, okay, so I went off on a really long tangent there, which someone will download this video and edit that out and send it back to me so I can upload it again without that. But until that happens, you have to sit through that. Okay, so it runs over time. We run it, we look at it, we have the exciting, amazing result of.
So let's go ahead and play this. Oh, does it work? No. So apparently, it's not a set function that is in processing. Maybe in other languages, maybe Python or different languages, I can make any function name that I desire. But in this particular programming language, there are set functions that I can use. How I can use them are plentiful. It's just they're set. There we go.
Exactly what we had before. This is very sad. This is a sad moment in computer programming learning history. Fortunately, it's not going to be sad very long. The next video, we're going to take it a step further. But why is it still a static program? The reason why it's a static program is what if we said to do in draw over and over again? Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Draw the rectangle at 321.8. Draw the rectangle at 321.8. Draw the rectangle at 321.8. It never moves, it never changes color, it never grows, it never does anything. This is our next step. If we have a program that runs over time, how do we introduce the concept of variation into this loop? So I suppose what I would suggest to you before you watch the next video is find something you made and sort of get set up and draw into your sketch. Try to type out the syntax, see if you run into any errors. Just get a sketch with set up and draw. And something I will say.
Okay, so I'll take. So if I understand him correctly, I'm going to open up my snowman code. What? Okay, my snowman code, and I'm going to use the void setup function, indent it, put this in between. I actually do want to put this in between, and then I'm going to put void raw, because I'm creating another function where the first one it's set up, it's just, oh, it even messed up there. There we go, and fixed. First one, create the canvas static. Doesn't move, doesn't change, it is what it is. Now I'm going to create all these things from all the way down here, and all this shall have, I'm going to copy just in case, there we go, indent. There we go. And I'm going to save, and I'm going to run it. Should come out the exact same. Boom! Look at that. Looks beautiful. Yes, it does. It looks like he was smelling the marker. I gotta turn off that fan. Okay.
For some reason you're following along the learning process book, it does something which says, take your elaborate, crazy alien design and put it in a dynamic program.
Some projects are easy, some projects are hard, some projects take time, some projects are quick. And mix and matching all those four specific adjectives or whatever. But I thought this was going to be a more heavy day, a more difficult when it comes to a particular project to do. There we go.
after some experience.
Actually, I can even do. There we go. There we go.
Experience of using this book of teaching is don't do that. I would say come up with something really simple. Make a very simple design, one circle, one rectangle, because what we're going to focus on is less about all this code and gobbledygook for drawing an elaborate pattern on the screen. We want to focus on just starting to animate a simple element, how to introduce variation to our program. It's going to be a lot easier to do that with a simple sketch and not an elaborate design. Later you can kind of understand what it means to start building more elaborate design, but right now we want to focus on the flow of a program. So, boy, that was a much longer video than I imagined, even though I have no idea how long it was, and I will be
okay. So what I was expecting, again, I was expecting to do a lot more in this video. But I also have, before this, I was planning that I need to do another 50, 55 to an hour long, 50, 55 minute or hour long video. I need to learn how to learn rapidly in the morning so I can pick up the necessity, when do I program and code? I hit a wall right there, emotionally, just, so you know what, I'm going to continue going. Just to note, I do have a time quota, and I want to do as much as I possibly can within that time. But I do want to focus on the learning process first. So let's move on to the second one.
Remember this program, right? We just finished with this. It's a dynamic program. It has one line of code
mouse
set up,
X, mouse
lots of lines of code that happen over and over again and draw. Repeating. And what's the result? This static rectangle that sits there in the window.
So save exit out of the snowman command.
So what is it that we want to do? We want to figure out how do we animate that rectangle. How do we introduce this idea of variation into a program? And truly what we're leading up to is this idea of learning about a fundamental concept of computation, this idea of a variable, a program that stores data over time. In the game context, that data could be the scores of different players, the level that a player is on. It could be the position.
A concept that I just want to figure out more how to do. Question. How to create a function or data set that stores data. I'll go with that. Over time, and then can access and use that data.
Of things over as they're moving, right? Any program that has something moving, you've got to store its position. What is its size? And if it's growing, what is its new size? There is data associated that a program is storing, a processing sketch is storing whenever it runs. That stuff is being stored in the computer's memory. So that's what we're leading up to. But we're going to kind of start in a simpler way, just by kind of sneaking in this idea of variation into our processing sketch. So what if, for example, we could say, this block of code thing. Here we have, we're writing this rectangle. And we're drawing this, we're calling the function rectangle. We're drawing a rectangle at 100, 100 with the size of 50, 20. What if instead of saying that, I could just say, I'm going to draw a rectangle at the mouse's x position, 100, 50, 20. Wouldn't that be nice, right? Instead of saying, oh,
so let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to save this into being. Go up one. Yeah. No, 29. So this one is draw a rectangle. Now I'm going to create a new one. No, I don't want to create a new window. I actually want to get rid of this one. Dang it. A project initiated by some people I did not know. I don't know if Daniel Schiffman actually had any weight in how processing actually is as a programming language. I thought he was one of the creators or co-founders. But if I'm wrong on that one, you know what? Let's look that up. I want to look that up right now. Processing programming language creators. go with, again, processing overview, education, culture, research, foundation, history, processing. There we go. Processing was started by Ben Fry and Casey Reyes. In the hopefully I saying that word your last name correctly. In the spring of 2001, while both were graduate students at MIT Media Lab, within John Maeda's Aesthetics and Computation Research Group. Development continued in their free time while Casey pursued his art. I thought it was a she at first. That's why I kind of made it a gender neutral. So Casey pursued his art and teaching career, and Ben pursued a PhD and founded Fathom Information Design. I want to know what that is. So, what is that? Images. So, just a data company? Fathom. Ben Fry, fathom.info. Okay, I know what the team talks, press, projects, data platforms. We started with large, abstract data, so it's just a data company. Okay. What do you specifically do that you don't do with, that you can stand out with? What niche are you serving? That's my question to him. Robinhood? Oh wait, did they create Robinhood? Robinhood is a financial app. I don't think it's the poverty tracker Robinhood. No, it's different. Yeah, great data representation, but okay, it's not what I thought it was. Okay, good to know. Many of the ideas in processing go back to Muriel Cooper's visual language workshop, and it grew directly out of I don't know how to pronounce that. I want to know how to pronounce that. Pronounce. Maida?
Maida.
Games.com.
Oh, Japanese. No, I don't want Japanese. How to pronounce... Yeah.
Maida.
Maida or Maida? Okay, so apparently... Maida. I'm going to go with Maida. May? Is there any other language that would say A-E is not an A-sounding word? I want to go with Maida. I don't know why it would be Maida. Is it a silent A? I'm going to go with Maida. So, out of Maida's design by Numbers project, developed at the Media Lab and released in 1999, the wiring and Arduino. Is Arduino the programming language for the Raspberry, or is it defined? Is an open source hardware and software company. Gotcha. Okay, so I think they're the ones who created Raspberry. The Raspberry motherboard. Just to read up on it, Arduino is an open source hardware and software company project. Oh, I thought they were looking for donations. Company project and user community that designs and manufactures single board microcontrollers and microcontroller kits for building digital devices and interactive objects that can sense and control both physically and digitally. Its products are licensed under the GNU Lesser General Public License LGPL or the GNU blah blah blah, permitting the manufacture of Arduino boards and software distribution by anyone. Okay, so it's an open source. That's actually very phenomenal. Arduino. Let's read that. I'm going to read that again. Permitting the manufacture of Arduino boards and software distribution by anyone. So, if I understand this correctly, anyone can actually manufacture an Arduino board. They get a piece of the action, or they don't get a piece of the action when it comes to any profit. That's a question I have. So Arduino boards are available commercially in pre-assembled form or as do-it-yourself DIY kits. Arduino board designs use a variety of microprocessors and controllers. The boards are equipped with sets of digital and analog I/O, or input-output pins, that may be interfaced. Again, with City of Heroes, it's just a different. Why bring that up? Why interrupt the flow of thought? I was thinking I/O. Let's go with that. I/O in City of Heroes means individual or individual or singular. No, individual. What is that? Single origin. Gotcha. Individual origin. I/O is individual origin. So it's just your own. Gotcha. Okay. Individual enhancements. So I was thinking something else with that. So an analog. So let's read that. I'm going to read that again. Arduino board designs use a variety of microprocessors and controllers. City of Heroes. Haha. The boards are equipped with sets of digital and analog I/O pins that may be interfaced to various expansion boards or breadboards. Oh, those are breadboards. I forgot all about those. Shields and other circuits. The boards feature serial communication interfaces, including the USB or on some models, which are used for loading programs. I want to go to Raspberry. Okay. Raspberry Pi. There we go. Arduino and Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi, Arduino. Searching for info. Oh, are they different? I thought they were the same. I didn't know they were different. So the Arduino Uno is legitimately what I thought the Raspberry Pi is. Raspberry Pi, I think, is the individual motherboard that you can use for small, specific projects. If you use multiple Raspberry Pis, or, in this case, Arduino Unos, you use them in a multiple case. I don't know if RAID is specifically and only for hard drives that you can sync up multiple hard drives together to create one super massive hard drive network connection. Or you can also, how do you connect Raspberry Pis? And again, I am grateful that I am going down a route in the technological world. I was actually wanting to go to learn more about programming, but this is something that I can expand upon. This is something that I'm actually very interested in. A new rabbit hole to discover, something that I can go down deep, and it's like, okay, this is new, this is fresh. Anything that's fresh, I can be more engaged with. Something that just have to do it this way makes me feel kind of bored and boring at times. So I'm grateful that I'm going in this direction, at least for now. I don't know if I'm actually going to create a Raspberry Pi project, and if I did, I don't know, because then I would have to reevaluate whether or not going down a Raspberry Pi or Arduino Uno, using that motherboard for any particular project is actually going to help me with my overarching project of going towards, which again I feel embarrassed to say because it's not being embarrassed, it's a personal goal, creating my own automated trader. And if I just okay, whatever. Okay, so let's go with this. So what is the difference between the two? In Arduino, let's just go down this route, and I may go back. So finish up this rabbit hole, snuff out this rabbit, which again is a horrible image. What is the difference between the two? I think I'm like a fox. So an Arduino is a microcontroller motherboard. A microcontroller is a simple computer that can run one program at a time, over and over again. So it's really good for farming or for doing one particular project, pretty much like this. This, I think, is a very complicated motherboard, but being able to run one program at a time over and over again will be very good to understand how to use a Raspberry Pi or Arduino Uno. More importantly, a microcontroller motherboard that can run one program at a time. If I am trying to figure out how to create an automated trader, understanding how to do Raspberry Pi is probably going to be very important to learn. So put that in my notes. Raspberry. Did I spell that correctly? I don't think I did. Raspberry. Okay, I keep forgetting that P. Raspberry Pi and Arduino Uno. Microcontroller or microprocessor? Microcontroller motherboards that can run one flippin' heck, I will destroy this entire system. I need okay. I was spiked up in hate. Oh my gosh. Again, I may have some control issues. Really good to express it, work through it. You know what? You know what? It's my fault. Nothing to be. Whether or not it's something to get angry at, oh, man, that was something. Yep, one of the issues why I had a lot of issues. It's one of the issues I had a lot of issues that other issues came up of trying to learn how to program because I have a very. This is the way that it has to be, and I've learned to release that a lot more than I have, and I feel like you just got off a high and you're like, whoa, what is it, man? Okay, so a Raspberry Pi and Arduino Uno are microcontroller motherboards that can run one program at a time. My question would be, what if I used multiple microcontroller without the capital M, microcontroller motherboards Okay. So my question was, a few questions. What if I used multiple microcontroller motherboards to use for my automated trading program? What benefit would I use them for? What benefit could they bring? What benefit would they bring to my ATP or automated trading program? How would I set it up? How would I set them up? What reason should I use a regular motherboard versus a microcontroller motherboard? So those are, I think, really good questions to ask. So, what is the difference between the two of an Arduino versus a Raspberry Pi? So, a general purpose computer, usually with a Linux operating system. Oh, okay, so that's one major issue that I was thinking. I was thinking that both the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino are the same thing. No, the Arduino Uno is a one program function. So I'm going to make this one an Arduino Uno, and then I'm going to cut the Raspberry Pi and I'm going to make that into a different section because it's not the same as an Arduino Uno. So a Raspberry Pi is a general purpose computer, usually with a Linux operating system and the ability to run multiple programs. It is more complicated to use than Arduino. What would I use each for? An Arduino, or a singular program use microcontroller motherboard, is best used for simple, repetitive tasks. Opening and closing a garage door, reading the outside temperature and reporting it to Twitter, driving a simple robot. Raspberry Pi is used when need a full-fledged computer, driving a more complicated robot performing multiple tasks, doing intense calculations as for Bitcoin or encryption. As for an example, I think I don't care for Arduino Uno. Again, Arduino Uno is great for single activities, like as mentioned above. But what I would want personally is not that. I don't need that. What I want to use is for machine learning processing, machine learning specifics. I need to learn how, I would need to use a Raspberry Pi, a general computer, again, something like this that you can just simply hook up multiple phones, multiple Raspberry Pis together, and then using very specific machine learning AI algorithms that continuously learn and grow and learn, and it needs no other commands, it needs no other types of programs, it doesn't need a calculator app, it doesn't need this on there, it has its own calculator using programming, it doesn't need a recording software, it doesn't need any of that information. So, but I mean, I guess it is a simple computer, but to maximize what I am able to use on it, that is something, that's a question I have. That's a great question I have. I'm a great person. Yeah. So instead of a microcontroller, I'm going to say general purpose. I don't think I would need an Arduino Uno, I think I would need a Raspberry Pi. General purpose. General purpose motherboard. To perform multiple tasks. So what if I used multiple Raspberry Pis? Okay. Is there a simple rule of thumb to help me decide? Yes, there is. Think about what you would want to do with your project, what you want your project to do. If you can describe it with less than 2 ands, get an Arduino. If you need more than 2 ands, get a Raspberry Pi. Now that's one question. Okay, good. I'm glad there's examples. I want to monitor my plants and have them tweet me when they need water. That can be best done by an Arduino. I want to monitor my plants and have them tweet me and they need water and check at the National Weather Service, and if the forecast is for fair weather, turn on the irrigation system, and if the forecast is for rain, do nothing. That would best be handled by a Raspberry Pi. So I would need to articulate 2 simple things. I would need to articulate 2 simple things. What do I specifically, again, if I'm sharing my information, it's one of those, I feel like other people can rip it off, but at the same time, if I don't do it, then I won't have it available. And it's not the code itself. People can copy the code. That is something that most people won't be able to have. My development process, going through the experience, having references. Somebody can just copy the code like I've been doing with other people's code, and the code can change. I can change the code. I may be able to have an intimate knowledge of what the code is representing. Somebody takes it, you know what, I'll just create another one. Because I am the system. It's not the program, it's me. Iron Man isn't Iron Man. The suit doesn't make the Iron Man. The suit doesn't make the Spider-Man. Spider-Man makes the suit work, regardless of what the suit is. Iron Man makes the Iron Man suit work. If there is no power within the Iron Man suit, the Iron Man can still walk up and go somewhere else because it is not again, the suit is very powerful. But it's you. It's all about you. So you need to develop you first. You need to know that your tools are magnificent things that can actually aid you and can be very harmful to other people and can be a very benefit to other people as well, even to yourself. But you need to develop you first. So this is the most important part, is that I need to be able to define what it is that I need and want with my system that I've been wanting to create. I've created a lot of definitions and descriptors with other journals, but let's do this live on, well, technically live right now, I guess live whenever you're watching this. So I want to monitor, so what it is, so think about to do. Think about what I want my project to do. Specifically, 1. So each of these will be an and. This command, this command, this command. 1. Monitor live data from multiple markets. Now my question would be, if I am using multiple markets, the Forex market, the foreign exchange where you trade dollars for yen or yen for pound or pound for Aussie dollars or the Kiwi dollar, just a nickname for it, are each of those a singular activity? Or can I just say multiple markets? Can I just say multiple plants? Or is each plant that is being measured a single task? That's a question that I have. Excuse me. Number 2. Okay. I would actually need to, by definition, regardless of whether or not the first one is a multiple tasked item, I have a number 3 that's important. Monitor live data from multiple markets. Let's just assume that's just 1. Number 2 is execute trades automatically based on historical data, which would then entail multiple tasks. So even if it was still a singular activity, I now have a third thing that's important. I need to make certain that it's a minor one, but it's important. So the number 3 is machine learning algorithm to continuously grow my account and monitor portfolio health. Even if that's just as general as you can ever be, it is still a multi-hued command prompt that command. There's a lot of commands that need to go into that, so a lot of ands. I would probably need to use the Raspberry Pi. I was thinking I could use the Arduino Uno for singular tasks, even if I hooked a lot of them together. But it's not individual tasks. It's actually, again, if you're using machine learning rather than just individual tasks, you might have to go with the Raspberry Pi by default. I love multiple choice. I love having the option to do something different. I don't want to just be using the Raspberry Pi. For me specifically, I like variety. For anybody who's astrology follower or whatever, yeah, I won't go into that. But due to my astrology chart or whatever, if you believe that or not, or think it's dumb and stupid for it, I don't care. I do care. That's why I care. Because I care so much, I just have to move on from that, whatever. But Aquarius is a very important part of my astrology sign when it comes to this specifically. Technology. So, for those who know what that is, yeah. So, I want to monitor my plants and have them tweet. No, I want to monitor my plants and have it. So, isn't the rule of thumb oversimplifying what is actually a much more complex issue? Yes, that's what a rule of thumb is. Look, this is confusing. Just tell me which one I should buy. An Arduino. It's a system designed for beginners. Whoa, 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 are you serious? Huh. But the question is not for what's just for beginners. If I wanted the state of boards, small, simple hardware rules. It's interesting. I actually want to look that up. Yeah. I would like to think that a Raspberry Pi may be the best thing for me. So let's go with machine learning Raspberry Pi. Okay. Okay, there's a bunch of information here. So let's do machine learning with Arduino Uno. Oh, sweet. Okay, this is actually information worthy of use. From somebody who said from 2018, Ranjit, hopefully, Binge, however you say your name, I apologize. Let's go with this. Quite an interesting question of how do I use machine learning with Arduino? Quite an interesting question here. I myself have worked with both Arduino and as well as machine learning platforms like TensorFlow and PyTorch, which is something that I haven't, and I'm grateful for the opportunity regardless of what my current state is. So that's something that's important to take into perspective. Irrespective of the platform, what machine learning is really used for is to crunch a large amount of data and produce a useful relation between sets of data, which you can use to perform some useful functions, functions or lists and sets of commands. A function is a set of commands. If it's just a small amount of numerical data that you could fit into a reasonably sized matrices, and you want to crunch that data very quickly, you could in fact write a program that will do some matrix operations to give you the desired results. But as the data sets get larger, this will take a lot more time to run your algorithm on the low-spec Atmel microcontroller on the Arduino. This is where it gets unreasonable to do such a thing on an Arduino. Arduino is great for very simple tasks. So because of your algorithm begins demanding too much from the microcontroller. So you'll have to keep your data sets tiny, which again defeats the whole purpose of going for machine learning in the first place. Yes, it can be done for really tiny data sets, but that's not really what machine learning is for. But nevertheless, if you still want to crunch data at a tiny amount of data, nobody's stopping you. Oh, and don't ever think of running Python-based machine learning platforms on an Arduino, although most machine learning platforms are written in Python. Python is a scripting language and requires an operating system underneath to compile and run the code in real time, which I am assuming Arduino Uno, or Arduino specifically, single programming application microcontroller motherboards do not have that capability, or do not have that option, or something. Probably it's a capability. They can, but it's really bad for it, I'm assuming. And microcontrollers aren't even powerful enough to run an operating system. There we go. There, because I was thinking that a Raspberry Pi had an operating system. Okay, so the only other way to use TensorFlow or any other platform to crunch all that data is by relaying the data received on an Arduino to a more powerful system that has a microprocessor by either a wired or wireless connection. In fact, most IoT architectures, I don't know what that is. What is that? Define. Internet of Things? In fact, most Internet of Things is an extension of Internet. Okay, Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, IoT, which is freaking weird of a descriptor, is the extension of Internet connectivity into physical devices and everyday objects. Embedded with electronics, Internet connectivity, and other forms of hardware, such as sensors, these devices can communicate and interact with others over the Internet, and they can be remotely monitored and controlled. So, in fact, most Internet of Things, so things that connect to the Internet, okay, architectures work this way by using a microcontroller-powered device to collect and relay data to the cloud, where all the machine learning algorithms crunch the collected data and send back a signal to perform an appropriate action. Oh, that is so interesting. So, an Arduino, the single processing microcontroller motherboard can actually gather data in a singular, like a sensor of some sort, whatever it is, or a measurement, send that data over the Internet if it can to the cloud, which again a server, and the server will crunch the data, then send the what comes up back. So the Arduino never does any of the calculations. It sends what it measures, and then receives what the calculation spits out. If that is correct, an Arduino sounds like a phenomenal project to do. But if I was not really caring to deal with the cloud, which I have no idea how it actually physically works, I think it may be best to go with a Raspberry Pi, if I so chose to do so. I think I can use it without using either, but eventually that's a very good project to go down. So Arduino Uno doesn't have the processing power necessary for machine learning. However, you can implement some sort of simple decision tree type logic to your Arduino code, but it won't be close to what you would get with a better processor, something you could do, I'm assuming, with a Raspberry Pi, not an Raspberry Pi. Okay, so machine learning, yeah. That looks neat. I used to just pull out motherboards from a TV. I don't know if you probably can't see it, but over here, I took apart a TV that somebody threw away. One of those LED TVs, and I pulled it all out. I took it all apart. It was pretty cool, but I have no use for it, so I threw most of it away except for the black screen, the black part that goes in, that is between you and everything else of the TV. I thought that was just pretty cool to do. Okay. Wow, I went down a rabbit trail. So let's do this last one. I looked up Arduino. I would now like to look at Raspberry Pi machine learning. Oh, I think I already did. Oh, okay. With Raspberry Pi. There we go. Oh, this one is just step by step on how to actually do it. No, I don't want to step by step. I just want to know principle. I want to know the gist. The gist. Can I? That would be can I use Raspberry Pi? Oh, that's a great question. Okay. It's a really great question. Which is better for machine learning, Arduino or Raspberry Pi? Okay, Raspberry Pi is better for machine learning. Here are the reasons why. Processing power, operating system, and memory. Okay. Wow, look at all that. It's a lot of information. Oh, okay. I thought there was a lot more, but there's not. So processing power. Raspberry Pi is a single board computer which can run a Linux-based operating system, and I think Linux is probably the best operating system to use because most viruses are created on Windows, so that's why Linux is so by default free of viruses, because hackers aren't attacking Linux, they're attacking, and because Linux has so many different types of operating systems, you would have to change your virus to so many. Microsoft and even Mac, but even Macs, that's a different monster altogether. No one, with Microsoft, Windows is so universally used, and it's for the general public, not for those who really know it. That's the demographic that you would want to use a virus on. So I think Linux is just by default its position, because it's open source, that if somebody has one operating system, you can actually modify it a little bit and make it your own, and a virus can't be used on it because the operating system itself has changed just slightly, so you can't attack it. I don't know if it's the operating system or runs something on a Linux, a new operating system a new architecture structure when using a different Linux operating system. What's the word? Okay. Version. Ha! Goodness gracious. So, capital I-T, or is it just capital I, lowercase t? It is an ARM-based 64-bit computer. So what is an ARM? ARM defined. Computer architecture. Excuse me. Okay, so there's a lot of information here. I'm probably not going to go too much in depth. ARM, previously Advanced RISC Machine, originally Acorn RISC Machine. So again, now we're getting into acronyms that I'm just, whoa. It's a lot of memorization. It's not really, like, oh. I mean, I love this. I absolutely enjoy the articulation. I love every single detail about it, but I don't know, and I have gotten overwhelmed easily when it comes to trying to remember this, and how does this correlate with that, and I want to know what the reason is, why this works the way that it is, and maybe there's a lot of deeper meaning I'm trying to get from one particular acronym. Why does that acronym have that definition? What does that even mean? Because I can rehearse it, I can repeat it, but I want to know what the connection is. How can I connect it emotionally? I am neurologically, how I learn, I'm a physiological learner. Just because I can listen, just because I can see it, once I am able to feel it, once I'm able to connect it, just like, again, the snapping of the fingers, once I'm able to connect it in a neurological feeling way, then, that makes a lot more sense. And that's, I think, one reason why when I come to going back to processing at the very beginning of the channels that I've started started this entire channel with, learning from Daniel Schiff, the coding train, I did one, I can start using processing, but then tomorrow I have a different feeling, I may be in a different state, and then I'm like, well, why is it that way? I'm trying to understand when my feeling about it was a certain way when I learned it the first time, so I need to be able to reiterate my learning, I need to be able to reiterate the idea, the topic, in maybe multiple ways before I can actually make it click, before I can make it stick, which is very important as to why this is how I see myself learning from my experience from the past. Learning in one particular manner, going to school, I hated it. You sit down in a class, you don't move, and you just listen. You go home, you read, you go in a study, okay. The only way for me to have learned was to be in a study group, and I never got actually part of a study group, which is why I failed. So again, I paid thousands of dollars. I'm glad I didn't get $10,000. I think I'm actually at $10,000. No, I'm at $7,000 worth of debt. I got out early. $7,000 worth of debt for college. It's actually like 6,000 or 5,000, but it's still accumulating. Yeah, that sucks. But I need to be able to learn on the neurological level. I need to learn physically. I need to learn emotionally. Why does this have any bearing or weight or meaning? If you know how I'm describing weight, the analogy I'm using, what I'm painting as a picture, I am using the neurological descriptor of weight, something that I can feel. How does it? Did you hear what I meant? Did you see what I mean? Using eyes, using ears, using feeling, using one of the sensory factors, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, whatever the actual ones are. Sight, which is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. The correct, I guess, more professional or more accurate definitions. But sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Using those 5, which one are you when you learn? And when you understand that, for me, speaking it out loud activates my hearing, but more importantly, me using my body is what me in being engaged like this is what helps me remember most. So that's why I'm going down this process, this pathway, is because what is interesting to me? What does that mean? How do I use this over here? And I think it's very important to understand, like, even just the simple basis of a computer. When I was in high school, I loved learning about computers. I was the worst person in class because I was as dead as a rock when it comes to how any and all quizzes or something. I took a computer course twice, and I think I dropped out of that one. I didn't know how to do it. I just loved being around it. I loved being around computers. Again, I was dumb and stupid when it comes to them, but I loved the idea of it, I think, a lot more. But my capability of understanding them was dead. Like you drop it like a rock, hits the ground. My wishes were out in the clouds where I wasn't able to get there, and that was the disconnect. I want to do X, but my body, my brain, my thought, my mind isn't working in alignment with what it is that I want. I want to be happy, but my body might be in a depression. And I get frustrated because I'm in a depression and this dream seems more and more out of reach. And that's something that I've had in the past. Again, being able to understand it, being able to articulate it, being able to verbalize it. Even though I may get pissed off about that certain topic, I'm here right now learning how to make it better. How to be in a better position to learn how to do it. Regardless of how anybody out there who says, you don't know how to code, what are you, an idiot? Probably, but I'm now trying to learn how to do it, which makes me a smart person, even if I'm out there being very humble or be very egotistical. Being humble and saying that you're humble, are they really on the same playing field? I guess being vulnerable, that would be the better word. Not just being humble, being vulnerable. Getting out there, spewing letting my process be known regardless of it being right or wrong. And I think I love Daniel Schiffman as a programmer, specifically because he goes through videos and he makes mistakes and he fixes them live on air. Somebody who's just trying to make a picture perfect type of video, you have to make it entertaining, but if you're trying to avoid making mistakes, that's where you actually make the most amount of mistakes. But when you accept those mistakes as happening, you can maximize the amount of reward or amount of success that you receive. So it's like feelings. If you try to avoid or hide your feelings, you actually harm the happiness you can receive. And that's something that even right now, that's a realization I didn't take into account. That's important. That is so important. That is so freaking important. Okay. Whew. I'm feeling it, man. My heart's not beating heavy. It's not beating fast. It's not beating hard. My chest feels heavy. Like, like it's that sense of vulnerability that's like, here's my emotions, which is something that I haven't been able to express in such a long time to another person as I did now. Okay, whereas Arduino is a series of 8-bit microcontroller-based board with no operating system. Okay, 64-bit versus 8-bit. I would need a 64-bit, period. Using a bunch of Arduinos, using 8 Arduino Unos would probably still be less than one Raspberry Pi. So I'm just going to go with Raspberry Pis for now. But again, Arduino, good product from what I understand. But I want to do machine learning. So Raspberry Pi can run Linux, so it has, or Arduino Uno specifically. Raspberry Pi can run Linux, so it has support of various operating systems with inbuilt libraries for Python, C, C#, C++, I'm assuming, etc. Or even JavaScript. Maybe, I'm not too certain about that. So, what programming languages can I use on Raspberry Pi? That's what I just looked at. Top 10 languages ported to the Raspberry Pi. Scratch, Python, HTML5, JavaScript, jQuery, Java, C, programming language, C, C++, Perl, Erlang. Okay, so it says ported. Does that mean that I can download others, or is it just by default Raspberry Pi has these specific programs? My question would be, how can I update them? How can I update them? Do I run a program on the Raspberry Pi? That's a question I have. Okay. Okay. Done with that for a moment. So, Arduino is another story, as it uses its IDE, integrated something. What is an IDE? Not a bomb, but integrated development environment. Integrated development environment for programming, and due to low memory, you can't run huge-sized programs, which is what I'm looking to do. I cannot use Arduino Uno for the project that I'm creating. If I was to use a microcontroller or miniature motherboard for various particular tasks, I would have to use a Raspberry Pi because I'm using machine learning, which I am expected to have it massive data. Which at the very beginning I was actually waiting, debating whether or not I should use one or the other. Now that I have got past that one question, I'm now allowing my brain to say, like, yeah, I would use so much memory, which at the very beginning, Arduino Uno said, no, it doesn't have a lot of memory. Well, how about this, and what about that question? So just gotta work through it. You gotta work through it. So, yeah. Number 3, memory. Raspberry Pi uses SD card, gigabytes, while Arduino has inbuilt flash memory in size of kilobytes. See, again, that's a phenomenal descriptor. I need gigabytes, if not terabytes. I think terabytes are above gigabytes. Bits, bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. Okay. And then tetrabytes, I think, are after that one. Let's look that up. Levels of memory in computer. Memory hierarchy. Oh, that's not what I was expecting. That's not what I was expecting at all. Level 1, level 2, level 4, disk storage. It has almost everything except for what I'm looking for. It was Wikipedia. That was pretty cool. System memory. Okay. What's above terabyte? What's bigger than a terabyte? Terabyte comprises more than 1 trillion, while... What? That doesn't sound right. Oh. Terabyte versus other. Kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte. Petabyte. That's weird. Exabyte, zettabyte, yogabyte. Okay, now they're just making up words. Whatever. Okay, so I went down a very phenomenal path. I think it would be a very good time to take a break. I would personally love to keep going, but I also want to keep in mind, I want to make this into a video in of itself. I think 1 hour is a phenomenal time of trying to do as much as you possibly can. Going down routes, trying to learn about a particular topic, expressing your thought process, connecting the dots, seeing what you can learn. Because you can memorize a bunch of things, but how they all play together is an important aspect as well. So I tried to learn a little bit more about processing. I created my own sketch. I don't know how I got on to the bandwagon of trying to figure out what do I use a Raspberry Pi for. I don't know what that is. I don't remember. So again, just picking up one piece at a time. If I was to I hope I was to learn a lot more than what I just did. But I do have to appreciate, it's like if I can't hold the memory in my head, I can at least appreciate in the moment that I'm being very grateful that I had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about my project of going towards my one specific goal of creating my own automated trading program or my own ATP. That's one particular thing that I care about doing, and that's one thing, that's one video down. One video or one lesson. Let's call it one lesson. Some lessons are bigger than others, some lessons are quicker than others, some lessons are more intense, some lessons you learn very little. So you can learn a lot, you can learn very little, it takes a longer time, it takes a short amount of time. And the mix matching of all those factors, and can be even a combination of all of them together. So I'll end it off with this. So thank you very much for being a part of this. My name is Timothy Miller. Please post your comments, questions, concerns right down below. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Or, yeah, I'll see you next time. There's no other option. I give you no other option.